Listen to me. I need you to wake up. I need you to stop sleeping on your own greatness. You're out here doubting yourself. Listen to the noise, the opinions, the critics, and forgetting who you are. You are one of a kind. That truth alone should shift the way you carry yourself, the way you move through the world. From the moment you were born, there has never been, and there never will be, another person exactly like you. Your DNA, your experiences, your thoughts, your dreams, they form a combination that cannot be replicated. And yet, too many people walk around trying to blend in, trying to copy others, trying to meet a standard that was never meant for them in the first place. When you understand that you're one of a kind, you stop comparing. You stop measuring your journey against somebody else's timeline. You stop thinking you're behind just because someone else appears to be ahead. You realize that comparison is not only the thief of joy, it's the kill of originality. You weren't made to fit into someone else's mold. You were made to break it and build your own. Most people don't recognize how powerful they really are because they've been told to dim their light since childhood. Maybe it was a teacher who said you weren't good enough. Maybe it was a parent who didn't believe in you. Maybe it was society telling you to play it safe, to stay in your lane. Over time, those voices become louder than your own, and you begin to question yourself. But the truth is, none of those voices matter more than yours. The world may try to shape you into something you're not, but it's your responsibility to return to who you are. There's a purpose inside of you that no one else can fulfill. There's a message that only you can deliver, a gift that only you possess. When you understand that, you stop seeking approval. You stop waiting for someone to notice you. You start showing up as your authentic self. No filters, no masks, no apologies. The problem is, we've been conditioned to think that being different is something to be ashamed of. Standing out is dangerous. That being too much makes people uncomfortable. But what makes you different is what makes you powerful. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, not in arrogance, not in ego, not in the ego, but in truth. You don't need to shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. You don't need to dull your shine to fit in with the crowd. The people who matter, the opportunities that matter, the life you're destined for, they all show up when you show up as you. You don't need to have everything figured out to start believing in yourself. You just need to recognize that your existence is not an accident. Every skill you have, every talent, every flaw, every failure, it all adds up to something extraordinary. Some of the most successful people on the planet didn't make it because they were perfect. They made it because they embraced who they were and refused to pretend otherwise. You see, when you know you're one of a kind, you move different. You walk into rooms like you belong there, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you know your worth. You speak up, not because you want to be heard, but because you have something valuable to say. You stop trying to compete and start trying to contribute because you know what you bring to the table is real, raw, and necessary. That is not about ego. It's not about hype. It's about truth. The truth that you were created for something meaningful. And that purpose doesn't require permission. It doesn't wait for perfect timing. It just waits for you to rise up, to take ownership, to realize that you're not here by chance. You're not breathing air, facing battles, carrying dreams, just to live a life of fear and mediocrity. The world doesn't need more copies. It doesn't need more people trying to be like someone else. It needs authenticity. It needs your truth. It needs your voice. It needs that one-of-a-kind fire in your soul that no one else can replicate. Because when you finally realize what you're carrying, when you finally stop underestimating your own value, you become unstoppable. That belief starts with you. It doesn't start with your parents. It doesn't start with your teachers. It doesn't start with your friends, your boss, or even your mentor. It begins with the person you look at in the mirror every single day. Until you decide to believe in yourself, no amount of external validation, praise, or recognition will ever be enough. People can cheer you on. They can clap for you. They can even hand you opportunity. But if you don't believe you deserve it, you'll self-sabotage. You'll hesitate. You'll shrink back. You'll question whether you're worthy, whether you're capable, whether you truly belong. The reason so many people stay stuck in the same place year after year isn't because they lack talent. It's not because they don't have the potential. It's because they haven't made that internal decision to believe in who they are and what they bring to the table. Belief is the foundation of all success. You can have the perfect strategy, the perfect plan, and the perfect timing, but without belief, none of it matters. You'll always find a reason to delay, to doubt, to defer your dreams to someday. What's dangerous is that disbelief doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, it sounds like I'm not ready. It sounds like a maybe later. It sounds like a what if I fail? But the root of it all is the same. You don't believe you're enough. And until that changes, your actions won't align with your ambition. Your steps won't match your statements. You'll speak greatness, but walk in fear. You don't need to be perfect to believe in yourself. You don't need a flawless track record or a resume full of wins. Belief doesn't require perfection. It requires a decision. A moment where you say, I may not have all the answers. I may still be growing. But I am enough. I have what it takes. I believe in my ability to figure it out. That mindset changes everything, because when you believe, you start showing up differently. You start trying instead of hesitating. You start learning instead of quitting. You start reaching instead of shrinking. People love to talk about confidence like it's something you earn after success. But real confidence is built before the win. It's the inner voice that says, even if I fall, I'll get back up. Even if I'm doubted, I'll prove them wrong. Even if I'm afraid, I'll still move. That's what belief looks like. It's not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear run your life. You can't outsource self-belief. You can't wait for other people to see your work, because the hard truth is this. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll overlook you, underestimate you, ignore you. And if your belief is tied to their validation, you'll be crushed every time. But if your belief is anchored within, if it's rooted in your purpose, your growth, your vision, nothing can shake it. Not rejection, not failure. Not even your own mistakes. Every person who has done something great started with a moment of inner belief. Before the crowd, before the spotlight, before the praise, there was just a decision, a commitment to believe in something greater within themselves. They may not have known exactly how it would work. They may have had 1,000 reasons to give up, but they chose to trust that spark inside them. That belief lit the path when everything else felt dark. You have that same spark. The question is, will you trust it? Will you water it? Will you protect it when the world tries to drown it out? Because that belief is your responsibility. It's not up to your past, your circumstances, or your environment. It's up to you. When you choose to believe in yourself, you stop waiting for permission. You stop needing people to tell you it's your time. You decide that your time is now. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it. You stop letting fear dictate your steps and start letting purpose pull you forward. And every time you choose belief over doubt, you grow stronger. You prove to yourself that you're not defined by fear, failure, or what other people think. Belief isn't about pretending to have it all together. It's about trusting yourself even in the mess. It's about knowing that no matter how many times life knocks you down, you still have what it takes to rise. You still have a reason to fight. You still have a purpose worth pursuing. Success requires conviction and consistency. You can't show up strong one day and disappear the next. You can't chase your dream when it's convenient and then forget about it when things get hard. That's not how greatness is built. That's not how legacy is made. If you want real, lasting success, not just moments of achievement, but a life that speaks power and purpose, you've got to be consistent and you got to believe in what you're doing with every part of who you are. Conviction is that fire in your gut. It's what keeps you moving when motivation fades, because motivation is temporary. You can listen to the right words, watch the right videos, and feel fired up. But what happens the next day when life punches you in the mouth? When the alarm clock rings and your body's tired, when your plans fall apart, when no one's clapping and you feel alone in the grind, that's when conviction steps in. That's when belief becomes more than a thought. It becomes a weapon, a mindset, a force that drives you forward no matter how bad it hurts. That consistency is the hammer that builds your future. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. It's not the moment on stage or the highlight reel. It's the work done in silence. It's the early mornings when no one's watching. The late nights when everyone else gave up. It's choosing to show up again and again, Even when progress feels slow, even when results aren't visible, even when your emotions scream for you to quit. That's what separates the people who talk about success from the ones who live it. The truth is, most people want results without repetition. They want the dream without the discipline. But the ones who make it, the ones who turn their visions into reality, they're not just passionate, they're relentless. They know that every step forward matters, even the small ones. Every rep, every call, every hour spent honing their craft. They understand that progress compounds over time. What looks invisible today becomes unstoppable tomorrow if you stay consistent. Conviction doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you keep going even when you do. It's a choice to believe in something greater than your current situation. To trust that your work matters even when no one else sees it. It's rooted in your why. Why you started, why it matters, why you refuse to quit. Without conviction, you'll fold when it gets hard. You'll chase comfort instead of growth. You'll back off instead of doubling down. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you're tired, discouraged, overwhelmed. Days when the results don't match the effort. And that's when most people give up. That's when they convince themselves it's not worth it. It's not working. It's time to walk away. But if you got conviction, you stay in the fight. You remember that your consistency is bigger than your feeling. You don't need to feel like it to be about it. You just need to stay committed to the process. That isn't an accident. It's not something that just shows up at your doorstep. It's earned. It's built through hours, days, and years of disciplined action. And the crazy part, most of the time it's boring, it's repetitive, it's routine. But that's where the magic happens. That's where your skills sharpen, your character develops, and your mindset strengthens. The grind is the gateway to the greatness. Consistency builds trust, not just with other people, but with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-respect. Every time you show up, even when it's hard, you reinforce the belief that you're capable, that you're serious, that you're worthy of the success you're chasing. And that internal trust becomes fuel. It creates momentum. It turns belief into confidence, into results. Top people underestimate how powerful small actions are. Everyone wants the big win. But the truth is, big wins are just the result of stacking small wins every day without fail. One brick at a time, one choice at a time. That's how you build something unshakable. That's how you create a foundation strong enough to hold everything you've been dreaming about. You've got to be obsessed with the process. Not just the outcome, but the work, the struggle, the repetition. Because if you fall in love with the process, you'll never stop. You'll grow through every failure, every rejection, every delay. And eventually the world will catch up. They'll see what you've been building all along. But it all starts with conviction and is powered by consistency. You don't need permission. You don't need someone to tell you it's okay to dream big. You don't need to wait for approval to go after what's in your heart. Too many people are living a life that's been scripted by someone else, following rules they never agreed to, chasing goals that aren't even theirs, and holding back because they think they're not qualified to start. But the truth is, no one is going to hand you your destiny. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, now is your time. If you want it, you have to claim it. You have to step into it without asking for permission. The moment you stop waiting for someone to validate you is the moment you start taking control of your life. Most people are stuck because they're looking for a green light that's never coming. They think they need someone more experienced, more successful, more respected to say, yes, you're allowed to go for it. But greatness doesn't wait for permission slips. The people who do extraordinary things are the ones who start when it's uncomfortable, when it's unclear, when everyone else is still standing on the sidelines, wondering if it's safe. They don't wait for someone else to believe in them. They believe in themselves to go first. Every minute you spend waiting for permission is a minute you could have spent building, growing, evolving. You think you're being cautious, but what you're really doing is delaying your potential. The longer you wait, the louder doubt becomes. The more you hesitate, the more you convince yourself that maybe you're not ready. But the truth is, nobody ever feels completely ready. The fear, the uncertainty, the nerves, those don't go away. You just learn to move through them. You learn to act in spite of them. And the only way to do that is to stop asking if it's okay and start deciding that it's necessary. The world is full of rules, spoken and unspoken, about who's supposed to succeed, what age you should be, how much experience you should have, where you should come from, what you should look like. And if you're not careful, you'll internalize those rules. You'll convince yourself that you're too young, too old, too inexperienced, too different. You'll start measuring your worth by someone else's standards. And before you know it, you're living a life that has nothing to do with who you really are. But here's what they don't tell you. Those rules were made up. They were made by people who didn't know your story. People who didn't know what you're capable of. People who were playing it safe and wanted you to do the same. So when you stop waiting for permission, you start rewriting the rules. You start living by your own standards. You start trusting that your vision matters, even if nobody else sees it yet. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need a title, a degree, a certification to start showing up as who you were meant to be. There are people with all the credentials in the world who are still stuck, still scared, still doubting themselves. And there are people with no formal background, no connections, who decided to bet on themselves and changed everything. What made the difference? It wasn't talent. It was ownership. It was a mindset that said, I belong here. I've got something to offer. I don't need to be discovered. I want to show up anyway. Every time you wait for permission, you give your power away. You let someone else decide how far you can go. You hand over your future like it doesn't belong to you. But this is your life, your dream, your purpose. No one else is going to fight for it the way you will. No one else is going to see it with the clarity and passion that you do. So why would you give them control over when and how you begin? Starting doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require a fan club. It just requires courage. The courage to trust your gut, to speak your truth, to take one step and then another, even when nobody's clapping. That's how movements are born. That's how legacies are built. Not by waiting, but by doing. Not by seeking permission, but by declaring, I'm here and I'm ready. You were not put on this earth to play small. You were not born to sit quietly and watch others live boldly. What's in your heart was placed there for a reason. And the longer you keep it locked up, the more the world misses out on what only you can give. Dear failure is not final. It's not a dead end. It's not the end of your story. It's a chapter, sometimes a long one, sometimes a painful one, but it's never the whole book. Most people treat failure like it's the ultimate verdict, like it defines who they are and what they're capable of. But failure doesn't define you unless you let it. What it really does is reveal. It reveals your strength. It reveals your resilience. It reveals how badly you want it. Because anybody can keep going when it's easy. Anybody can be confident when they're winning. But the real test comes when everything falls apart, when the plan doesn't work. When you give it your all and still come up short, that's when your character shows up. That's when your fight is measured. People fear failure. They think it's a reflection of their worth. But failure isn't personal. It's part of the process. Every success story you admire is built on a mountain of failures. Behind every breakthrough is a long list of setbacks, mistakes, and closed doors. The difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck isn't that one group never fails. It's that they don't stop when they do. They learn to stop when they do. They adjust. They keep showing up. They understand that failure is just feedback. It's a teacher. It's not always kind, but it's always necessary. Sometimes failure is the only thing that forces you to grow. Comfort doesn't teach you much. When everything's going right, you don't question things. You don't stretch, you don't push. But when you fall, when you hit that wall, that's when you start asking different questions. That's when you look deeper. That's when you build something real inside you that can't be shaken by the next obstacle. Growth doesn't happen by avoiding failure. It happens by walking through it. Our failure also makes success mean something. If it were easy, if everything came on the first try, you wouldn't value it. You wouldn't protect it. You wouldn't be grateful for it. The struggle gives your story weight. The setbacks give your confidence depth. When you failed and got back up, there's a different energy about you. You know you can survive disappointment. You know you can rebuild. And that knowledge, that grit, that's something nobody can take from you. Not most people quit too early. They fail once or twice. And they start thinking maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's not meant to be. But here's the truth. If you gave up after every failure, you never make it anywhere worth going. Every great thing you're after is on the other side of resistance. The breakthrough isn't in avoiding the pain, it's in enduring it. It's in showing up one more time when your ego is bruised and your hope is low. That's where power lives. People love to celebrate wins, but nobody talks about the breakdowns that come before the breakthrough, the nights you question yourself, the mornings you struggle to find the motivation to try again, the conversations in your own mind where you have to fight to believe that it's still possible. But if you're willing to keep going, if you can trust that failure is just part of the process, you'll get stronger with every stumble. You'll build a kind of momentum that's bigger than height, bigger than talent. You'll become unstoppable. You're not weak because you failed. You're human. And if you let it, failure can become the fuel that pushes you forward. It humbles you. It teaches you. It reminds you that the dream doesn't owe you anything. You have to earn it. You have to prove that you want it. Not just when it's fun or exciting, but when it's hard and unfair and exhausting. That's when you separate yourself from the pack. That's when you rise. People spend so much time trying to avoid failure that they never actually live. They never risk. They never leap. They settle for a safe, small life because they're falling. But what they don't realize is that failure isn't the worst thing that can happen. Regret is. Looking back and knowing you didn't even try, knowing you had more in you, but you played it safe. That's the kind of pain that sticks. If you fail, good. That means you tried. That means you stepped out of your comfort zone. That means you're in the fight. And as long as you're still breathing, it's not over. You can start again. You can rebuild. You can use everything you've learned and come back stronger. Failure doesn't get the final word, you do. You already have everything you need. The strength, the ability, the fire is in you. It might be buried. It might be quiet. It might be hidden under years of doubt, fear, rejection, and comparison. But it's there. You're not waiting to be handed something external. You're not lacking some magical resource that only other people have. What you need is already inside you. You just have to uncover it. You have to believe that what's in you is greater than what's around you. Because the truth is, no amount of outside help will save someone who won't activate their own potential. So many people spend their whole lives looking for something outside of themselves to change their situation. They chase validation, approval, connections, love. They think if only I had this opportunity, if only someone noticed me, if only I had more money, more time, more support. But all of that is noise, because people who truly win in life are the ones who stop waiting and start creating. They use what they have. They take inventory of their pain, their experience, their perspective, and they make something from it. They don't wait to be discovered. They discover themselves. It's easy to think you need more education, more confidence, more clarity. But more doesn't always mean better. What you need is activation. What you need is permission from yourself to show up, to speak up, to take up space. The world has convinced you to shrink, to doubt, to second guess, to blend in. But deep down, there's a version of you that's bold, loud, and limitless. That version of you doesn't wait for perfect timing. It doesn't beg for acceptance. It moves, it builds, it leads. And that version has always been there. You just have to wake it up. There's power in trusting what's already within you. You don't need to copy someone else's path. You don't need to mimic their voice, their style, their journey. What you have is unique. Your story, your scars, your perspective, they matter. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the real you. But you'll never unlock that if you keep trying to be someone else. You can't compete when you're not being authentic. You can't thrive when you're living in imitation. Your superpower is your originality, and you can only tap into that when you stop running from who you are. You've survived too much to believe you're powerless. You've come through storms that would have broken someone else. You felt pain and kept moving. You've been overlooked and kept trying. You've been doubted and kept believing. Don't you dare forget that. Don't you dare minimize that. That's proof of your strength. That's evidence that there's more in you than you've been giving yourself credit for. You're not starting from nothing. You're starting from an experience, from grit, from resilience. And that counts for more than you realize. That you don't need to be fixed. You need to be focused. You need to stop letting your mind wander to everything you're not and start leaning into everything you are. You've got gifts. You've got intuition. You've got the ability to figure it out, even if you don't know how yet. The people who go the furthest aren't the ones who had it all figured out from the start. They're the ones who were willing to try, to fail, to adjust, and to keep moving. They trusted that whatever they lacked, they could learn. Whatever they didn't have yet, they could build. That's the mindset that unlocks the impossible. That inside you is vision. Inside you is power. Inside you is a voice that the world needs to hear. But none of that matters if you don't believe it. If you keep ignoring that quiet inner push. If you keep silencing yourself out of fear of being judged, being wrong, being different. You were never meant to blend in. You were never designed to settle. Everything you need to make a difference is already inside you. It's just waiting for you to say yes to it. Just stop waiting to feel ready and start moving with what you got. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is the decision to start with what you have. Not no more excuses. No more looking sideways at what everyone else is doing. No more believing the lie that someone else is more equipped, more worthy, more chosen. You got something too. You got heart. You got drive. You got a reason. And that's more than enough to begin. The world doesn't need you at half power. It needs you all in, fully awake, fully present, fully you. So today, I challenge you. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop searching for approval and stop doubting what's already inside you. Believe in yourself fiercely, act with unshakable conviction, and commit to showing up every single day. Your potential is waiting to be unleashed. Your story is waiting to be told, and your life is waiting to be lived on your own terms. Remember, the power to change everything starts with the decision to believe that you are enough and that your time is now. Now go out there and make it happen.